Bonjour, chers amis. Ben voice le Dr. Shekhar di Mumbai. Una breve introduction alla Subclasse 1 et 2. Subclass in homeopathy. Well, plants are categorized according to the evolution into 5 classes. And they are mosses, ferns, gymnosperm, monocotyledon, and dicotyledon. And the further classification of this dicotyledon are classified into 6 subclasses. They are the magnolids, the hamamalids, the caryophyllates, delenids, rosids, and the asterids. Each subclasses have orders in them, and under each order there are families. And classes are named as magnolidae. For example, order as magnoliales and family as, for example, Ranunculaceae, which means DAE, which ends in that, is the class. Aisles, for example, magnoliales, ALSE means the order. And Ranunculaceae, RCA, ACE means the family. This is how the botanical nomenclature is. So if we see at the dicotyledon, basically, there are 6 subclasses in it. And the main theme of the dicot as such is all about something from outside affects me, and you react to it. As against what we can see in the monocot, which is a single cotyledon. It's all about oneself. The idea in the monocot is, I am only concerned about myself, not about the outer world. And in this dicot, we have got 6 subclasses, as I said. The first subclass, that is the magnolids, where the main theme is all about no cover, completely being exposed. I feel raw and oversensitive. Maybe that oversensitivity could be to noise, could be to the weather changes, could be to any external impression. In the second subclass, the theme is all about open and shut. In the third subclass, that is the caryophyllates, the whole theme is all about being self-limited. I am limited to this space. These are the boundaries from which I cannot move out. And that boundary is I have created for myself. Whereas in the fourth subclass, the delenids, the whole theme that runs in this entire subclass is all about being stable and unstable. How stable I am within my own self is the idea that you can see in the fourth subclass. Whereas in the fifth subclass, the main theme that runs in the rosids is all about feeling tight, feeling bound, and the need to break free the shackles. I need to break this and move out. This is the main idea for the fifth subclass, the rosids. And if you see in the sixth subclass, the asterids, the main theme that runs over there is that there is some kind of a sudden big impact. The impact is too big. The danger is too big. The threat is too big. And so therefore, if we go to see something more than this, is that each subclass has got some connection with the next subclass. They are all linked with each other. The quality of the subclass before it and the quality of the subclass after it, there is a little connection because they are in series, like what we see in the periodic table of the mineral kingdom. And therefore, what is very important in the subclass understanding is it is not merely about the words that the person uses, but beyond that, what is the reaction towards those words? And therefore, the response in each subclass is very important to understand so that it gives a clear indication with this classification of botany, where do we actually stand? What is the response of the patient? And it makes it very easy for us to really understand in the cases how do we really go about with these remedies from the respective subclasses. Now, if we have a glimpse of the first subclass, the Magnolidae, the main thing that runs over there is that there is small trifle things aggravate them. They are sensitive to the slightest pain and emotions. They're easily excited. They're very agitated. Everything looks very strange. Everything looks very unfamiliar. And therefore, for them, when the things look very strange, unfamiliar, they prefer to shut themselves off. They prefer to withdraw from this thing. They prefer to go into the shell because this unfamiliar, strange things really confuses them in a big way. That shows how primitive, how underdeveloped, how less evolved these people from the magnolids are. And if you see in the magnolids, we have got the magnoliales order, the nymphiales order, the iliciales, piperales, laurels, aristolocales, ranunculales, and the papaverales. These are the orders that are there in the Magnolidae subclass. And each order has got family, and each family has got the remedies. So it's a huge content that we are going to deal with when we are going to be personally meeting. And therefore, if we see in this particular subclass, the classical remedy that comes to our mind is the opium, which comes from the Papaveraceae order. And therefore, opium's main theme that you can see is the idea of being anesthetic, the idea of being numbing. The outside world is chaotic. The outside world is completely threatening. Outside world is torturous, and therefore I simply cut my senses off and go into my shell, withdraw inside by making myself numb. This is the classical way of understanding the typical remedy from this particular subclass, the opium. And therefore, the issue for the first subclass is all about confusion, extreme sensitivity towards external factors. And what do I do in response? What do I do as a reaction? Is to simply withdraw, get into my own shell, create a world of my own, and stay safe and stay calm and peaceful and serene within. And thus, withdrawing, numbing, being protected, confused, no outward movement is seen in the first subclass. This is the classical pointers that we can see as far as the first subclass is concerned. Further, when we go into the idea, what is the sensation that is there in the first subclass? The sensation is as good as a raw nerve, the nerve that doesn't have any covering to protect it. And therefore, slightest touch, even a hair touch also makes them feel extremely sensitive towards this particular external factor intruding into you. And therefore, they start feeling being exposed. And therefore, when they are exposed, that is threatening. So what do? They create their own world being inside. And that makes them feel very safe. That makes them feel very secured. And therefore, they're extremely sensitive towards suffering, pain, insults, all these type of things. They're extremely sensitive. And what you will see in them, they're very kind towards animals. They're very humble and gentle towards animals. This is what you can see in many of these remedies. And the words that these people will use is numb, slightest cause, anesthetic, shell-like covering, my own world. I withdraw into my own world. I feel confused. I feel very touchy, doctor. I'm very sensitive to anything that happens around me. This is the idea of the first subclass. When we go into the second subclass, the Homeopathy, the main emphasis is about open and shut, in and out. Now, for the first time, you will see in this subclass that the people in the subclass belonging to the subclass are a little more evolved. And therefore, now the window becomes an important aspect for the second subclass. They prefer to peep out, at least to look out, at least to experience the outer world. And therefore, you will see a lot of sensory stimuli in this particular subclass. Wow, so beautiful the world is. Wow, so colorful the world is. And therefore, there is a lot of sensory stimuli in this particular subclass. The idea that the theme that runs in this particular subclass is all about open and shut, window, heavy and light, flying, floating, dancing, laughing, fancies, full of fancies in this particular subclass, feeling imprisoned when they are inside. Lot of allergic manifestation you will see in the second subclass. This second subclass has got orders such as articales, hamamalidates, juglandals, myricales, and phagales. These are the orders that you will see as far as this particular subclass, second subclass is concerned. Like we saw the typical remedy from the first subclass, the opium, the typical remedy from the second subclass will be cannabis indica. And the idea for cannabis indica is all about the feeling of lightness, feeling of that sensory stimuli, feeling like as if you're floating. All these are seen as far as this subclass is concerned. So when I'm inside, it's too dull. It's too boring. How long can I stay inside? And therefore, when I peep out, the outside world is exciting. Inside, it is lifeless and dull. And I'm ready to come out. And the question is, am I really ready to come out? This is the problem with these people. And therefore, inside staying for too long is too much. And that becomes dull, lifeless, meaningless, and has got no sensory stimuli. Looking outside, peeping outside, it's all about feeling excited, feeling wow, feeling thrilled, feeling goosebumps. And looking at the outer world is something that is fascinating. And so, therefore, in the second subclass, the whole idea is open the window and peep out. If it becomes too much peeping out, you close the window and be inside. And the contrast is that inside world is lifeless, inside world is dull, inside world is gray, inside world is boring. And the outside world is something that is colorful. Outside world is something that is fascinating. Outside world is something that is exciting, thrilling, which makes you feel light, floating, flying. This is the main theme that will run as far as the second subclass is concerned. So likewise, we are going to deal with a lot of cases, paper cases, video cases, like how we discussed about, just in short, about the opium as a typical remedy from the first subclass. Similarly, the cannabis indica, the typical remedy from the second subclass. Likewise, there are many remedies from each order and each family of the first subclass and of the second subclass. And the most important aspect that I would like to throw a light upon as far as the idea of subclass is concerned. Because once we understand, previously we would be thinking, could it be this remedy? Could it be that remedy? But once now, when we are understanding the chief complaint, when we are coming to the kingdom understanding, when we understand further from this, it is plant kingdom, when we understand that this is what the person is responding, the patient is trying to tell us that, oh, there is withdrawal everywhere in different forms, in different ways. We try to understand now that this response belongs to the first subclass. And therefore, from that first subclass, with that 8 orders that are there and the respective families from each order, what could be the typical idea of that particular patient that corresponds to that order or that family and the remedy. So it makes our work really have a proper understanding through this botanical classification, through this idea of subclass understanding, so that we do not falter, nor do we get confused. Is it this or is it that? So it is a huge difference that it will make as far as our prescriptions are concerned, one, as far as the understanding patient is concerned, two, and as far as the result that is there in our practice that is concerned. So it makes our life much more easier through this idea of subclass. And in association with Dr. Rajan Shankaran, how things have been more and more precise in understanding. Why are we having certain failures in some of the cases? This has made us, for me at least, when I follow what Sir is doing, I have really seen the changes as far as my practice is concerned in the last 33 years of my career. And so my eager request is to attend and see how you will benefit. Matter of 2 days, definitely, surely, you will not feel that where have I come and what time did I waste. It will benefit you in the long run as far as your practice, understanding of the cases, results, all these 3 parameters are concerned. Thank you.